And we are recording. Hi, everyone. This is Deidre Kindred, your nurse advocate, here with another great topic on health chats among friends. So, tonight I have my friend Dave with Abiding Joy Residential Care Home. So, Dave,
Hi,
say
everybody. I'm
hello.
Dave Raschio. I'm the owner of Abiding Joy Residential Care Home. we're a three-person residential care home in Arlington, Texas. My wife and I run it. My wife's a registered nurse, has been since 1995, and I was an assisted living administrator. We're unusual in that it's our house. We do it from home, so it's not a facility. This is a home,
It's a
and we take
loving
care of our
home.
residents in the home. This is our home. Yes.
Yes, a loving home, Abiding Joy.
Thank you. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I've always loved the residential care home concept because I feel like people get, no offense against some of the bigger facilities, but people get more personalized care.
That's
And
how we got started, actually. Um,
right.
in in 2015, I was in San Antonio for the American Healthcare Association. The community I was running, which was in Iowa, was getting a Bronze Quality Award. And I watched the vice president of our company say, "We believe in getting the revenue and figuring it out." And I called my
Uh-huh.
wife that night and said, "I'm done. Start looking," because I said
Right.
there's a better way
Right.
to do it.
Right. You're
And
supposed to
we
put the
firmly
people
believe this is
first.
a better way to go.
It is. You're supposed to put the people first,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
So that's one of your whys. Is there another why that you like to share?
Absolutely. For us, it's about doing good care and having the flexibility to do good care for our residents. One of the things that's important for us is to adapt to our residents where they're at, and that'll change over time. And we have the flexibility in the small setting where the staff's consistent. It's generally my wife and I. We're never less than 1 to 3 for a staff ratio, which,
Okay.
if you know, in the big assisteds, they're running 14, 17 to 1. Um, and over time, one of the things that really helps is from both of our backgrounds, because we have 37 years of experience between us, is doing the assessment on people, watching how they change, adapting. For example, one of our gentlemen who lives with us right now, he's transitioned to a point, and he's well into his 90s, where he's fiercely independent, but he's come to a point where he's admitted he needs some help getting dressed. He's just not strong enough to get dressed anymore. So that's something that I can help him with. And that allows him to keep his dignity, and which is important. Obviously, that's what it's all about.
Right.
And then be able to adapt. Another person goes with my wife and daughter to dog training. One of our residents goes with them. She loves doing it.
Oh,
The blessing for us is that she's also a retired teacher
oh my
and she's
goodness.
working with my daughter. So it's great. So, and I should mention that we homeschool. So it works really well
Oh
that way.
yeah,
So
yeah.
the residents interact on a daily basis. This is not, oh, people working outside the home. This is what we do. Right.
Right, right. It's a family.
But that's the idea.
Hmm.
Candidly, we do it like 90% of the rest of the world does it. That's the
Right,
idea. Yep.
right. That's awesome. I love it. I can't help it. I love it. I get excited
Thank you.
because I was one of the ones who tried to venture out and do my own residential care home, and God said no. So,
That can happen. A lot of people ask, and I say, "Are
uh-huh.
you okay being married to the house?" Because it's for
Right.
me, it's my second wife. you know,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
it
that's the
is,
only one
and
that's allowed.
it's
That's
hard work, but it's very rewarding.
yeah.
It's rewarding when our very first resident was a retired principal from Arlington, and in a bigger facility, you could never do this. His wife would come in at 5:30 every night, and her visiting hours were at night. So she would come and spend the night. We put 2 hospital beds together, which was their
Oh,
norm. And then
yeah.
about 9 o'clock the next morning, she'd tootle out and go back to her house and do her thing
Love it.
and then
Love
keep doing
it.
it. And they
So
were happy because she was there, and we were happy because he
he
was
was
comfortable.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was happy too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
So for peace of mind for them and to adapt to a family situation is critical. That's part of why we do it, is we have that flexibility to do it this way.
I absolutely love it because it was one quick. I'll tell one quick story. I was working in the CVICU at a certain hospital here in Fort Worth, and you know how the doctors come in, they write discharge orders,
Mhm.
and she was so excited that he had written the order around 10 o'clock that morning after rounds, and but she did not get released from the hospital until about 6 or 7 at night. And she was in tears because she was going to miss dinner.
Mhm. It's the little
And
things like that that count.
Yes.
My son
Yes.
plays piano. He plays classical piano. And one of the things the resident asked for are for him to play piano. My daughter plays guitar. So they like to hear these things, but it becomes a routine and it becomes a part of their life to where they get comfort from it. One of my residents is a retired music minister from a church, and he plays by ear. My son, not so much. So he's helping my son in that way then.
Oh,
And he's
that's
encouraging
great.
to my son to keep going. So it's a wonderful synergy to have in that way. It's the little things like that that are huge.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So how have you guys been adapting to COVID?
COVID really, on a resident level, has been pretty easy. And I know that sounds different than what people might expect.
Mm-hmm.
The way we're set up with the way our rooms are set up is everybody can come visit. I have a resident, her son comes every day to visit her, and they go for a walk. They're socially distanced. In the summer, they use the swimming pool because we do aquatherapy in our pool.
Oh my
So
goodness.
last weekend, we went down to the family ranch outside of Waco and spent all day down there with her. It was a Bubba Palooza, and we were out shooting guns, and a couple families down there, and she had a chance to be with her family, see her daughter, see her son, see her grandchildren right there. Can't touch them necessarily, but she's right there with them and had a chance to spend the whole day. But her son, who's also a surgeon, comes every day and visits and walks with her. So it's a benefit for her. He gets peace of mind because she was in a large facility where she was socially isolated. They wouldn't even open up the window for her birthday so her grandchildren could say hi. And that's crazy in our mind. We won't do that.
Right.
So yes, we socially distance. Yes, we'll glove up and do all that. But realistically, people can still come and visit. And we encourage the visits within reason.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome
Mhm.
because everybody's had to adapt, but I love that you can still keep that close family niche there.
Yeah, the bonding is huge. It's huge.
Yes, yes, very. So
The other thing that helps is one of our residents has it's an Amazon Alexa. And that's a great tool to have. It's a good use of technology
Mhm.
during this time. And
Right.
that's being used every day, multiple times a day to kind of help with that sense because one of this person's relatives lives a fair piece away, but they can drop in and see their loved one and the loved one can drop in on them. It's great.
Neat.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
awesome.
not right there face to face. But nevertheless, we encourage family to come as much as possible to make it their home as
That's
well.
awesome. That's awesome. I love that. So, what do they do? Just Alexa call
Literally, it goes
so and
something like
so.
Alexa, drop in on ... kitchen.
Oh my
If
goodness,
that,
that's
and then
neat.
boom, it pops in. And if they're there, they're there. And if they're not, they're
Yeah.
not, you know?
Yes. And I love the concept of your home because it keeps everyone aging in place. You don't have to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely huge. And we wouldn't do it if we couldn't do that. And like I say, we're unique in that our kids are home. We have people that have passed away here. Absolutely. It happens. It's part of the aging in place process. Again, it's like the rest of the world in that way. The rest of the world, people don't go to the hospital to pass away. That's an unusual thing.
Right.
Generally, they pass at home. And what you do is you honor the person. We're very upfront. We're very honest with our kids, and they've adapted to it. Because, like I say, long before this, I was an assisted living administrator. Long before this, and they kind of learned that some days somebody's there and some days not. But you honor that person, and you can use that person's life as a teachable moment for our kids. We had one of my first residents was a guy named Bo. And Bo was about my age. He's about 6 months older than me. And he'd had a traumatic brain injury in a car wreck. He was a utility lineman and got hit by a semi.
Oh wow.
And Bo had some expressive aphasia, which means he couldn't always say what he wanted to say. It was there. He just had struggled to get it out. I worked with him for about 6 months to get to the point where he could say, I was born in this town at the hospital. It took about 6 months to get to that point where he could say that in one sentence. But one thing he always said, which was a great lesson for my kids, was, I'm trying. And he never gave up until the day he died. I'm trying. And that's a lesson that was not only carried over for my kids, but I did the man's eulogy when he passed away. But for the brain injury support group he was part of, everybody remembered that one thing about him. So we try to celebrate that about our people as well, that they're still vital. They still got it going on. That doesn't change. It doesn't
Right.
change from the time we come out to the time we stop. It never
Well,
changed.
what you're doing is spectacular. I will
Thank you.
say that. It is a work of the heart.
Thank you.
So, you used to be a assisted living administrator. Your wife's a nurse.
Yes.
Is it just you two, or do you? Of course, you said you have your kids too. So that's
Yeah,
like
and the
several
kids do help out in the
generations.
business. We've had staff over time. I'll be the first to tell you, I am hyper selective about
You
staff.
should
I'm not going
be.
to lie about it. I'm probably the world's worst boss because I expect people to be on point. I do not
Mm-hmm.
play around when it comes to quality with my staff, and I'm not ashamed to say it. A residence. This is not thumping the table now.
Right.
This is our residents deserve the best. I
Right.
expect them to get the best. That's my
Absolutely.
background is I was an administrator who would come in and fix a building. My first building was a hostile takeover.
Oh
My
wow.
second building was a building that was in stop placement.
Oh
I come
my.
in and I get them fixed so that they're running right, that the care is there. I don't focus on the financials. The financials take care of themselves.
Yeah.
They can't
If you're
but
doing
take
the
care of
right
themselves. If
thing.
you do the right thing, you love up
Mm-hmm.
on your people,
Right.
you set a high standard, and you expect it followed, and good things come. Your residents are happier,
Mm-hmm.
they live longer, they're healthier, you're happier as a result. It just takes the drive for a lot of people to just do it.
And you shouldn't expect anything less. You should
No,
not expect anything less because
no,
those are your family members.
no.
Period. Point
Oh, I
blank.
agree 100% on that. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They are family after a certain point. They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And just so you know, I've had experience in, we're kind of modeled on a model off the West Coast where both my wife and I are from. I know we're not native Texan, but we're from Oregon and Washington. Where I'm from, most of the people who do what we do are Ukrainian and Romanian women, and they've got it dialed. I've had two family members in Romanian run residential care homes on the West Coast. My grandmother, who had wandering dementia, was highly anxious at night. It's an amazingly simple fix when you just pay attention to the little details that they solved the problem by putting a mattress in the kitchen so she could sleep in the kitchen at night. She was happy because she
Yeah.
was reassured that somebody was there. The aide was happy because she knew where she was.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
win-win for everybody. And it was a great solution. And oh, by the way, because the mattress was low, she didn't fall and hurt herself. So it's a double win for
Absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome to how you can, because everybody is not the same.
No, no.
And that's what I try to iterate to people when I'm talking to them about my business or anybody else's
Mhm.
business. It's about that individualized care.
Yes. It's 100% about the individualized
Mm-hmm.
care.
Mm-hmm.
Even between my residents now, there would be, if somebody wasn't paying attention, there could be some preconceived notions
Mm-hmm.
about simple thing is who eats more. It'd be completely 100% out. If you're on and you know who Teepa Snow is, she made a very poignant
Yeah.
statement, especially with dementia. She said, "I'm still the same but different,"
Right.
and that is something that applies to every single one of the residents every time. That never changes. They're always just a little different. It takes a little while to learn who they are, but that's when you're doing it right.
Right.
When you can find that little fit that works. For example, when they take pills, do they like water or juice? That's a quality
Right.
of life issue.
Right.
One of my first interactions was advocating for my grandmother before her dementia got bad, and she was in a big box assisted living.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Yeah, the staff's okay, the food's okay, but they wake me up at 6:30 in the morning to give me my pills." And I said,
Mm.
"What do you mean? You don't get out of bed till 9?" And I had lived with my grandparents as an adult when I was in graduate school.
Right.
And I said, "You don't get out of bed till 9." And I said, "Hold on, let me go ask on it."
Right.
And we had to explain that, hey, this is her preference. This is when she takes her pills. It's how you match and tailor the service and how you tailor the care for the people you're caring for. And
That's
then it's a win for
awesome.
everybody. And candidly, it keeps them safer by doing
Mm-hmm.
that because that's their routine.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. It's no different than, that's on the same level of putting a grab bar in the right place, just with a lot more heart behind it, because then they're happy. And if they're happier, they tend not to get as anxious and wander around. So,
Absolutely. And then
and then at that times, people can get into an unfamiliar situation. Then there's problems that can come from that. You don't want that. So you want
right.
everybody to be free, to be comfortable, to where they're getting what they want, to be
Mm-hmm.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Cannot
that's the
stress that
beauty.
enough.
And that's the beauty of having a quaint, small center that you have. It's a home.
Yeah. I measured it out. There's not, for a residence, one of the things that keeps them healthier is it's a short distance. There's no more than a 70-foot walk from any door. Now, we do eat together at meals. We pray together at meals. We don't hide that fact. This is a Christian house. I'm not going to hide that. Not going to hide that at all. Having the blessing of having a retired music minister, but then giving him the honor to allow him to pray, but then also incorporating another woman who's also a resident to allow her to pray is a great model, because then my kids also prays at meals, and we do as well. And it helps give value and credence to who they are. It's a reflection on their background. It's a reflection on our background, and we synergize that together. If that makes sense to everybody.
It makes total sense to me. So
there's no less value there just because somebody is older. Doesn't mean, all that means is they just have more years on them at the end of the day.
More experience.
That's right. That's right. That's one of the things I used to teach my caregivers.
Yes.
Was they've probably had more kids than you have. They've probably walked more than you have, and they probably worked harder than you ever have.
Right.
Just by definition, and particularly with greatest generation residents. I mean, think about it for depression area. I have a gentleman who lives with us who's from Mississippi. He was born in 1926. He was a kid during the Depression.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, here to tell you.
Yeah. And the stories are just remarkable. I mean,
absolutely,
because these are real experiences. So I was going to ask you, why the name Abiding Joy?
2 reasons. Number one, starts with A, so it's easy to find. I'm being honest, folks. I'm being honest. But we wanted to reflect our faith as well.
Right.
I mean, we wanted to make that clear that that's part of who we are. But on another level, we want it to be easy to find, because the concept of a residential care home is a little different than, and I'm going to offend some people now, the big boxes, because it looks different. It's run differently. How we interact with our residents is different.
Yeah.
So I wanted a name that was easy to find, so I didn't have to fight that.
Right. So do you find that, I think maybe the last 15, 20 years, that residential homes are more popular, or do you think you're still fighting to be recognized by the public?
They are becoming more popular. Okay, so going into the math of it now, which I know is horribly boring, but for the needs of the residents, particular baby boomers coming up, we could be more adaptable than some of the bigger facilities, simply because our overhead is less. Being honest about it, we're able to offer our services generally a little less than most of the bigger assisted livings. When I shop it, we come in routinely about $1,400 less per month than for like services. But the thing is that we can do more. That's where there's a little bit of dissonance there, because my wife is a wound care specialist who's a registered nurse who cut her teeth in oncology, who's got experience since the very early 90s taking care of seniors, back when you could say candy striper and not get slapped. That's the truth. That's the truth.
No, I don't remember. I heard about them.
Well, you're only 20, so there you go. So
thank you. Thank
you. Go. So but that's kind of the area where I had somebody say once, "Oh, you do less care than us," and I said, "Well, no, actually, if any objective measure that you want to use, you'll find out that we'll do a higher level of care. For example, my call time response. Do you know what that means? It's how long do you take to respond to a call like?
And it takes you way less time.
It's about sub 1 minute for us. And that should be. That's what it should be.
Right.
Because we're close. We're close. And we can adapt pretty easily to situations where somebody might need some help.
Yes.
It just takes a little common sense. It takes paying attention to what the resident needs. It takes getting ahead of where they're projecting to be to put processes in place to help them.
Right.
And that's the good feeling you get, is when you say, hey, we got it dialed on this one here.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, and we had a resident a couple of years ago and came to us, and she had gait insufficiency, which means her walking was off.
Thank you.
And we knew within 24 hours that she'd had some strokes. She had vascular dementia. The family had no idea.
Right.
Because it had never been diagnosed. You know, we'd seen it enough to know that, oh, something's not right here. You know, let's get it checked out. And then sure enough, we were able to get her PT, because she went to a neurologist and they found it. And then we were able to get her PT. And then we were able to get her walking more steadily and get her on a program to help her reduce the risk of falls, is the best way to put it. I'm not going to say prevent falls, because they're going to happen.
They're going to happen.
They're going to happen. The idea is to reduce the number. So when I say that in 5 years we've had less than 20 falls,
yes,
that's the truth.
Awesome.
Total.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Total.
5 years. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we work hard on that. I did a 2-year study on it in the state of Oregon on fall prevention, just to work on it for how can we work on it together. And a lot of those principles applied to the house. Grab bars in the bathroom. You know, we have something that a lot of places don't. We have a sit to stand. And a sit to stand is great for somebody who can bear weight, and a lot more dignity than a Hoyer lift, and a lot safer, by the way.
Oh, yes.
And for your caregivers, it's safer too. That's the other thing.
Right.
So it's helpful for the residents to get them up, get them moved easily and safely and more comfortably than with the Hoyer. You're not slinging them all over the place and bumping them into stuff as much. It's really quite wonderful to have. We can still use a Hoyer, but this is another in-between step that, for a lot of residents, imagine the loss of dignity if somebody ever sees them.
Right.
You know,
right.
For themselves, with family. And I'm really talking about inside the room with family even. This allows them to maintain their dignity longer. And that's key for us. I can't stress that enough, is to help a resident maintain their dignity. Yeah. It does so much for their peace of mind. It does so much for their overall health. And it's such a simple thing to just sit down and ask them, what do you like?
Right.
It's not what the son wants. It's not what the daughter wants, although that's part of the equation. But to devalue the desires of the resident, even with dementia, they'll tell you. They'll tell you. They may not communicate sometimes if dementia is very advanced. They might not tell you in a way that's easy to recognize, but they'll tell you what they want. Right. And to pay attention to that and then adapt to that is the key. And that's when it's fun. That's when it's fun. It's like, aha, got it. Yes. Got it. That's when I get a big smile. It's like, oh yeah, we got it now. Okay. I call it the click. There's a click that comes in. And I'm snapping my finger when I do that. It's like, bingo.
I call it the light bulb coming on. You know, like when you see that light bulb come on, it's just like, it's so amazing. It's an amazing feeling. It's very fulfilling.
Absolutely.
To be able to, you know, connect with someone and they got it, you know, for that moment or that whatever it may be. It's a blessing. It's
a mindset. And for me, it came about when I was a new administrator. You know, you take the classes and you've got life experience. For me, it was my grandparents and great grandparents. My first experience with dementia was with my great grandmother. And she got to a point where she's nonverbal before she passed away. But when I first started as an administrator, I really struggled with how to provide, and I'm going to say life enrichment, not activities, because I don't like that term. Activities is entertainment. Life enrichment for men. And I read a couple quotes. The women were pretty self-directed. They've been used to running their households. Right. They were dialed. That was easy. And number one, they'd tell you if they didn't like it, which is great. That's good feedback. Negative feedback is not a bad thing. But I read this quote, and I mean, I was in on a weekend. I was frustrated because I said, I'm not reaching the guys. And I read this quote, and it was, why would we expect a 25-year-old woman to understand what an 85-year-old guy wants to do? Right. But more important than that, I read another quote, and it went something like this. I'm 86 years old and I live alone. I ride the bus to market and to my doctor's appointment if I need to. I've got 13-year-old girls telling me how to talk and what I should wear. Ain't that something? That right there was like, when we talk about a light bulb bingo moment right there, it's like, well, I need to ask them what they want to do. And I did it. And the first person I asked was a guy named Jerry. And Jerry was a diabetic who was wheelchair bound. And I'm brand new. And this has stuck with me ever since I've gotten into senior care. I said, how can we help you better? And he said, okay, let me tell you, you really want to know? And I said, yes, please. He said, I want diabetic syrup. I want sugar-free syrup. I'm diabetic. I can't enjoy the pancakes on the weekend. This is a hostile takeover, mind you. This is taking over a bad situation, but it's where somebody had lost focus on the right thing, which is how do we care for our seniors by listening to what they want? And that's what I said, well, I think I can fix that one.
Right.
And within a half hour, I was at the store getting some sugar-free maple syrup for the guy so he could enjoy pancakes. Quality of life issue. Okay. But it took listening to what that person wanted, not what I assumed was wanted.
Right.
For people who run facilities, there's a cost that they pencil out for per resident day. It's ignoring the per resident day to pay back on the back end by doing the right thing.
Wow.
It's fuzzy math that makes perfect sense when you do it.
Right.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to do it. It is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And that's one of those ahas. It's like, wow, I improved that one person's, I helped that person improve their quality of life today.
Yes.
And if we can focus on those things, then it's great.
Well, you're doing that every day, and my heart goes out to you. And I thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come and chat with me.
It's never busy, never busy.
Educate everybody on what it is that you do at Abiding Joy Residential Care Home.
Thank you.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way they could, get in contact with you and maybe tour the facility or take a virtual tour?
The best way is to call, generally. My phone number is 682-365-0263. We're also on Facebook. We're on the Link Network. We're also in the Second Wednesday Schmooze for everybody here, but we have our own Facebook page there. You can drop us a line there, and either way, we'll be happy to do it then, and happy to set up a meet.
And one more time, your company?
Abiding Joy Residential Care Home.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dave. I have so enjoyed this conversation. I've learned something new. I learn something new every time I talk to one of my friends, and it's just been such a pleasure. We'll definitely have to have you back and maybe talk about that fall reduction program.
That's one of the things that I do, just to touch on that real quick, because that's really a passion area for me, is I teach fall prevention classes through a nonprofit called 60 and Better. And it's called the Matter of Balance program. And I'm one of their coaches. I've been doing it for going on 4 years now, I guess. And I love doing it, meeting people. You go out into the community and you'll teach a class to 15 to 20 people. It's great. It's very fun.
That's
awesome. It's rewarding because it really does help.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you for your time, Dave. And I will close us out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Health Chats Among Friends, where we bring you reputable, credible resources in the healthcare community. So tune in next time when we have another amazing friend come and talk to us. Thank you again, Dave.
Thank you.
My name is Deidre Kindred. I'm a nurse advocate, educator, and navigator. I love helping you learn how to be more equipped on your medical journeys. Thank you and have a great evening.